All right, so lesson 4.6 is about what are called rational numbers. Rational numbers, okay? Repeat.
Rational numbers.
What's the opposite of rational numbers?
Irrational.
Irrational numbers, right. Rational numbers are numbers that we can make sense of or that we can write as a fraction, okay? Irrational numbers are numbers that we cannot find an exact fraction for it, okay? Let's start with rational numbers though. Rational numbers are numbers like 75 over 100, which is 3/4. Or as a decimal, it's 0.75. It is a decimal that ends. It has an ending. All rational numbers either have a repeating pattern or they end. They're terminating. Okay? Make sure you're taking these, write down these notes. Now, negative numbers can also be rational numbers. Okay? Rational numbers are fractions that do not have a zero in the denominator. If you have a zero in the denominator, if you put that in your calculator, a number divided by zero, the calculator will tell you it's a divide by zero error, a syntax error. You can't divide by zero. That's an irrational number if you end up with a zero in the denominator. Okay? So the denominator cannot be zero in rational numbers. In the book, it gives you a chart. It gives you a chart of how numbers kind of work. Okay? This big circle represents rational numbers. And then we said those are numbers like 0.3 repeating, because a repeating decimal can be a rational number. Okay. Numbers like, it has another one, 21.84, and the 4 is repeating. Those are rational numbers. Okay. Then, within rational numbers, we have the integer category. Exciting, isn't it? Yeah. Integers. Positive and negative whole numbers. Positive and negative whole numbers. Okay? -5 is an integer. 5 is an integer. All whole numbers and their opposites are integers. 6 over 1. -6. Okay? Fractions and repeating decimals, things like that, those are not integers. Okay? 3/4 is not an integer because it's not a whole number. -2 1/5 is not an integer because it's not a whole number. Okay? But this is -2 1/5. Okay, so it's a mixed number. Mixed numbers are not integers. And then finally, inside of integers you have whole numbers. 10, bullseye. All whole numbers are integers. Okay? Any questions on that? So, when it comes to rational numbers, we're talking oftentimes about fractions. Let's go back to the notes we had before. All of these are rational numbers. Now, you're going to be working with fractions today. Whenever you are substituting in numbers for a variable, we learned you need to put them in parentheses, right? So, when you're copying these notes, make sure that you're putting these numbers in parentheses. Let's look at the assignment, page 207. It says, show the next three fractions equivalent to 1/2. What is that question about? It's about finding equivalent fractions. Right? A fraction equivalent to 1/2. 2/4, 3/6, 5/10, and so on, right? Yep. How about number 2? -1/2 is also a equivalent to 1/2. Okay? -2/4, because that's also positive. It gives you 1/6. Whenever you're finding equivalent fractions, you have to multiply both the top and the bottom number in the fraction by the same number. You can also divide by both the top and the bottom number. Okay? Putting a number in the lowest terms means finding an equivalent fraction, but in using lower numbers. Now, number 15. This is where we get to substituting numbers. Number 15 has evaluate for A equals -4 and B equals 6, and then put it in simplest form. Let's look at this example. If A minus B over 3B is your expression, and it says to evaluate it, it means to find the answer. Okay? So, you'd need to put -6 in place of A, put it in parentheses, keep the minus sign that's there, and then put -4 in for B in parentheses. What if you don't put it in parentheses?
Then you don't know that you inserted it.
Okay, yep, and you might miss this second negative sign. The second negative sign changes it to -4, or, Henry? Instead of -4, it's +4. Yeah, the negative signs cancel each other out. So now this problem is -6 minus -4, or -6 plus 4, which is -2. Then insert B, which is -4, in for B here. What if we don't put it in parentheses? Then it looks like 3 minus 4. Is this 3 minus B?
No.
No, this is 3
Time.
times B. So we have to do 3 times, and we put the parentheses around it to show the times. 3 times -4, which is -12. Okay? Now if you have -2 over -12, you can divide both by 2, which would give you -1 over -6. Or you can divide both by -2, which gives you +1 over 6. Or if you see negative over negative is positive. Okay? So this is this expression, but it's the evaluated expression. When it says evaluate, it means find the answer in a number form. Find the value of this using these numbers. It's like substituting the numbers into a formula, like we did before, with the distance formula, with the Fahrenheit to Celsius formula. But now there's going to be more fractions involved, okay? So, again, we talked about rational numbers. Rational numbers are any numbers that you can write as a fraction. And then we talked about simplifying fractions and finally substituting numbers into an expression. Okay? Make sure that you put it in parentheses. All right, let's get started.